please welcome Charlie Northam.
I was out networking the other day and I was chatting to a lady, and she was a travel agent. And she's telling me about a bit of business she'd done recently. The phone had gone off in her office at about 6:15 on a Friday afternoon. You know what it's like at 6:15 on a Friday afternoon. You're kind of not really thinking work, you're thinking weekend and what's going on. And she was in exactly that mode. Anyway, the phone rang. The lady on the other end of the line was very obviously upset. She could tell, she'd been crying, you could tell there was tears, she could clearly tell something wasn't right. And she said, look, what's going on? Can I help? Turned out that this lady was due to get married the following day on the Saturday, and then due to fly off on her honeymoon on the Sunday. The problem was, and what caused the upset was, she wasn't going to be able to go on her honeymoon. Why? Because she was off to the Caribbean. There were some problems with various air strikes and problems. I don't know what the exact issue was, but there were no flights to the Caribbean. Basically, honeymoon cancelled. You can appreciate how that would be an upsetting situation. And she was calling this travel agent with the thought, is there anything you can do? I appreciate it's 6:45 on a Friday afternoon. I appreciate we're due to go on Sunday. Is there anything you can do? Now, that's not an easy situation to solve, but what the travel agent did was interesting. She just said, look, I'll see what I can do. I can't promise, but tell me one thing. Where will you be tomorrow morning? And she said, well, I'll be due to get ready for the wedding at my mum's house, and said where it was. She said she'd see what she could do. Put the phone down, picked the phone up again, called some contacts, got online, and managed to source exactly the same package of holiday, same spec, same rough dates, same sort of quality hotel and so on, but it was just to Hawaii, not to the Caribbean. The next morning, she went round to the lady's mum's house, produced the 2 tickets and said, look, normally there'd be £150 late booking fee for these, but hey, my wedding present to you, I hope you have a lovely day today and have a wonderful honeymoon. End of story. Question for you, show of hands. Would you refer business to that travel agent? You would, wouldn't you? Why? Tell me why. Why was the travel agent good? Went the extra mile, went over and above, yeah? Keep going.
Personal service.
Good personal service, yeah?
Or just put problems right.
Put the problems right. Good at what she does. I think that's definitely fair to say.
Feel you can trust her.
You feel you could trust her.
Listens.
Listens. Keep going, sorry.
Fixed it very quickly.
Fixed it very quickly. Certainly, as I say, good at what she does, definitely. Anything else? I mean, that's a pretty compelling list of reasons, I'd say, why you'd probably be prepared to refer business to her. But here's the thing, I don't think that's absolutely the case. While all of those are, of course, true, I think the real reason you'd be prepared to refer business to that travel agent is because I told you a story. It's the story that grabbed you. It's the story that compelled you. It's the story when you started to get involved in the emotional situation going on in the story that actually grabs us. And that's just what we're like as human beings. Look, I go out networking a lot. I am definitely an unnatural networker. That is me. There's no doubt about it. And okay, I'm a networking expert, but I get very frustrated when I get to a networking conversation and it's someone pitching their service to me. It's someone pitching their product to me. It's someone listing off their products and services in, let's be honest, a very dull fashion. And what I want to do is try and make networking conversations a little more interesting and also make them more advantageous to us, more profitable to us, hopefully leading to more referrals. And I think if we can tell more stories, we'll find ourselves being more referable. Because let's look back to that story. Okay, I appreciate, I'm just trying to make a point there with the story. All of those things were absolutely correct. She did offer good service. She did offer a great last-minute deal. She went over and above and everything else. But here's the thing. What we've got to do is get across that story to others. When we're going networking, what do we need to do? What's the message from this? To tell a story. So what are you going to do? What are you going to tell a story about? Tell me. What are you going to tell a story about?
Something that's happened.
Something that's happened? I'm hoping we're going to get a bit more detail than that.
A specific story?
A specific story, yeah. But what are we going to tell a story about?
Ourselves.
Ourselves? Ourselves?
Our clients.
Aha, our clients. Now we're
They
getting
can
closer.
identify with.
A story they can identify with, maybe. Keep going, let's see if we can drill this down. This is going to be an interactive workshop, so you're going to keep having to ask.
Delivered for our clients and the impact it's happened.
Aha, now we're talking.
How we've benefited.
How we've helped our client, how we've helped a client, what it's benefited them. That's when we're really starting to get interesting. And that's when it starts to make sense what we're talking about. So often in a networking conversation, I find myself honestly zoning out because someone's just droning on about their products and services. What I want to do is understand the context. I want to understand, put myself in their shoes so I get the picture. And that makes it easier to refer people. Is this making sense to anybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we need to practice. I think we need to tell some stories, and this is going to be an interactive workshop. I need you to get into pairs, and I'd like you to share a success story with each other. Let's just quickly make sure, are you all in pairs? Can you all be in pairs? I don't know, have we got an odd number of people in the room? One? Who's not got a pair?
That's a loaded question.
Anyone? You guys, perfect. Right, let me tell you what you're going to do. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes for this, so you're going to have to work quickly. And in that time, I'd like you to share a success story each. Okay, so you've got about 2.5 minutes each. Usually when I give about 5 minutes, I'll probably and I'll actually bring it in quicker. So you need to be quick on this, okay? In that story, what I'd like you to do, the listener, I'd like you to jot down a few notes. Just a few bullet points of what goes on in the story, because we're going to get a couple of stories shared. The best one will win a copy of the book, okay? I'm going to judge that, just so you know. No, we'll generally know that the room will be able to tell us which one the best is. But I'd like the listener of the story to share the story, okay? So you've got to jot down a few notes. And I also want you, the listener, to do one other thing as well. Critical's the wrong word, but challenge the story. Think, well, why was that so good? Push for more information. Don't just accept what you hear as, yeah, that was great. Why was it so great? That's what I'd like you to do. Does everyone understand?
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. 5 minutes. I'll tell you when you're about halfway through. Away you go. Can I listen in? Generally helping clients.
The one thing that you can
Should be starting to wrap up your first story if you haven't done so already. Start to wrap up your first story if you haven't done so already. You're about halfway through. Their own I gave you warning about half time, so you want to sort Ladies and gentlemen, you've got about 1 minute left. 1 minute left.
For both or for one?
For both.
How do we know when the midpoint is?
I gave you the midpoint. You were too engrossed in your story. Go quick, go quick. I'll give you another minute.
So before we were, this is where we kind of get under the skin of the business to understand their value proposition. And we've done this with quite young businesses, but my favourite one is quite an old industry. Printing industry. So, quite a bit older, going in a room.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you can start to wrap up your stories. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's call a halt to that. Forgive me if you haven't quite finished your story. I appreciate I haven't given you long to do that, and there's lots to discuss. Can I ask a few questions of you as a result of what you did in that exercise? First thing, was that enjoyable? Yeah. It was. Did you learn something? Yes. You did, fantastic. Was it better than me speaking? Yes. Say yes at that point, that's fine. Here's the thing, crucial thing though. Did the person you were talking to, in hearing the story, did it make them more referable? Please give me a show of hands if you would be more prepared to refer the person you were talking to on the basis of what you've just heard. Look around the room. People like stories. People like stories. I'm not going to try and tell you I'm a storytelling expert. I'm a networking expert, but I just know that people like stories better when it comes to getting into conversations. That's my challenge, just getting into conversations and having interesting conversations. And that's what I really want to encourage other people to do, to have more interesting conversations when it comes to networking. Okay, who'd like to share a story? We won't have time to share them all, but we might get 2 or 3 shared, depending on how we go.
Me, sir.
Cool. Thank you very much. Are you going to share your partner's? Are you sharing your partner's story? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Do you want to just stand so we can just make sure everyone can hear you?
No.
Speaker not wanting to get the attention. That's interesting.
Go
on, tell us who are we talking about here? Sorry, I can't see your name.
Ali.
Ali, cool.
Dr. Ali.
Tell us about Dr. Ali.
So what I can tell you about Dr. Ali is that we spent most of the time, because it was such an enthralling story. Actually, when I finished with it, I did say I went a bit quiet, didn't I? Because I needed some time to reflect. So basically, Ali started talking about a lady who was over 50 years old. She's overweight, and she spent 30 years on benefits. There's a lot of problems in her life. Some of this due to some sad clot deaths that she's had. She was addicted to prescription drugs, and you can kind of get a picture of this lady's life and the kind of the cycle that she was in. And the only person she really connected with was her GP. And that GP unfortunately got burnt out and had to and kind of, you know, for a moment disconnected with that lady. Now, that GP, Ali, could then connect with that person privately, which she did, and it then obviously managed to have a much better relationship. And as essentially her private doctor and having her own weight management company, this lady lost over 11 stone working with Ali, and actually then became, and her relationships got better. Her relationships got better with her husband and with her children, and she basically she came away from being addicted to these prescription drugs. I don't know if I mentioned that. She's also and actually has now gone into business with Ali in terms of, so she's actually set up her own weight management company working alongside Ali. So a really, really success story.
Well, there you go. That's a powerful story. I mean, yeah, thank you very much. Crucial question again. Would you be more prepared? Would you be prepared? You may not even know Dr. Ali. You may not even know Dr. Ali. Would you be prepared to refer her on the basis of what you've just heard? I think you would, because that's such a powerful story. We'll look at a bit more detail why that was so powerful, because he really did cover pretty much every base there. Let's have a couple more that came out. Any other good stories you had? Yeah, go on. This is Jackie's story, is it?
Yes.
Go on.
So,
stand up, get the attention.
Okay, so I'm kind of feeling right in the middle.
Come and stand here if you want.
Okay, so Jackie had a personal image client who had her own copy on the website, and she'd been writing, she spent a fortune on developing her own website and writing all of her own copy onto it, and were getting no results. And Jackie changed 5 or 6 key pages on the website, only changed the words, nothing else, and within, sorry, that bit I should have written down. How long was it at the time frame?
A week.
Within a week, she had 6 inquiries. And one of those was a corporate inquiry that led through, and literally just changing the words on the website. So I thought it was very impressive.
That's a powerful story again. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Again, same question. Would you be more prepared to refer Jackie on the basis of what you've just heard? You would, wouldn't you? Because it's showing credibility in terms of what she does. Let's have time for one more. One from this side of the room's had enough of the limelight. What about this side of the room? Any good stories from over here? 2 of you put your hand up. I didn't see who was first. Go on, yeah.
This is QJ's story. So QJ started a rock band when he was at school, and he used to go giving free gigs to anyone who'd come and listen to him many moons ago. And these gigs, gradually he started playing at village halls and church halls, and he used to create a buzz and an excitement around these gigs to get bums on seats. And he gradually built this community of people that would come and watch his band play. But his biggest achievement, sorry, I was going to say also they got to bigger and bigger venues, and in 1997 QJ decided to set up his own orchestra, which was a really big undertaking, and he made contact with Nigel Kennedy, the violinist, and Nigel Kennedy decided he wanted to play with QJ's orchestra, and they booked 3 venues with 1,000 seats in each venue, and they had to fill these seats in I can't remember what the time scale was. 7 weeks they had to fill these seats, and so QJ set up a box office in his garage. He created a buzz around all these events, and eventually sold 2,700 of the 3,000 tickets by creating this buzz around these events. So he's the man you want to go to if you want to put bums on seats.
Cool, nice one. Thank you very much. Good job. Can we delve into that a little more? I think the others I'll come back to as well. Let's delve into that a little more. Don't worry, I'll come to QJ just before this. So you had to sell the 3,000 seats. What would have happened if that hadn't happened? If 3,000 seats hadn't been sold? What would have been the issue? What would have been the problem? I mean, I may be stating the obvious here, but tell us.
Really are understanding the question, that they're not sold.
Well, this is where I want to understand, because let's come back to this.
Monetary wise, I mean.
Well, it could have been monetary. Here's the challenge. Every problem, every story must take us through a problem. Now, it feels like we've got some of that story. I don't know if we've got the complete picture. Let's go back over here and let's have a look and see what was going on here. In fact, I'll come to this one first. So, again, Jackie, I'll come to you. So the client who was an image consultant, tell us more about the problem. What was it that got her to pick up the phone to you and say, Jackie, I need your help?
Because she paid £3,500 for a web design company to create a site, written all her own copy, and in 3 months not had a single inquiry.
Uh-huh. We need that information. I appreciate you. I'm putting you on the spot, so I'm not suggesting that you should have known that. But that's the information that makes it more powerful. So at that point, what's she thinking? She's paid £3.5 grand, not got a single bit of business. How's she feeling?
Pretty desperate.
Pretty desperate. This is where we need to get to. We need to feel the emotion of what the person who's the client in this case is feeling. At this point, you come in, do your magic, fantastic. Suddenly, what was it? A bunch
Within
of
a
inquiries
week,
within a week.
inquiries.
Fantastic. That's how the story develops. Again, let's take the picture over here, and I think genuinely you did a fantastic job at delivering that story because you really outlined the challenge. We were all with the lady, overweight, struggling with depression, all sorts of addictions to various things. Forgive me, I'm not all the details, but you did a fantastic job at painting the picture. All of us were there, all of us just thinking, oh God, she's all right. And then she loses her G, oh my, you just hope she's okay. And then what did you do? Maybe you could take us through it in a bit more.
I didn't do anything because I'm not allowed to, but she approached me on Facebook
Yeah.
and asked about my weight management program. And through that,
The key thing is she got to the point where she wanted to come to you, and that's where the story really, a lot of people get the story to start there. And then it's all about what you did. What we actually need is the background. Go on, take us through a bit more because it's
So
a
she
fantastic
connected
story.
with me, and over the period of 18 months, she lost 11 stone. She turned around her relationships. She quit Valium, opiates, and cannabis. In fact, cannabis she gave up 2 weeks ago. She had been on antibiotics for recurrent urine infections for 20 years, and she stopped them with the supplements that I use, which also boost your
Okay.
immune system.
Right.
And
you're also
her
hinting-
self-confidence is just so much better because she is slim. She's the
Yeah.
same size as me now.
And tell us a bit more. You were hinting at what happened afterwards. It's not just the fact that physically she's changed and dependency in terms of the drug. What else? There was something else.
It's the sort of
comes
relationships, it's the way she relates to other people because of her own self-confidence, and the way her family respects her more because she's shown that she can turn her life around.
And what does that mean for her?
That means for her that she's got hope. She didn't have hope.
That's pretty powerful. And that's what really counts for us. So I wonder if we're coming back to your story, maybe we won't go into it now. What we've got to do is hone the story from the client's point of view. What we've got to find out what the issue is. What was the problem? Now the problem could be all sorts of things. It could be a physical problem, a mental problem. It could be just not getting enough business. It doesn't, all sorts of problems come up. What we've got to do is put that problem down, you then come and do your bit, and then how do they feel afterwards? And that's what's really powerful. So let's have a think through some of the stories we've heard. Let's have a look. Shout them out for me. What sort of things do we need to make sure we're including in our stories?
Emotions.
Emotions. I'll go with that. Yeah, definitely.
Statistics.
Results. Yeah,
A problem.
I'll go with that. A problem. We've just been saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Solution.
A solution. Yeah, results. I'll go with, I think that would be similar. Go on, keep going.
A pain.
So what do you mean? About, just
Painful.
tell us a bit more about that. What do you mean by that?
Challenge.
A challenge. Okay, problem, challenge. Are we on the same line there, or are you thinking something different?
Well, pain is a manifestation of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one manifestation of it.
Okay.
I think it's more
You feel
emotion.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You feel it
pain
emotionally.
somewhere in there. I mean, appreciate not every story is going to include all of these. It depends on the story, obviously. But what else do we need to include?
Quantification, but then you've got that as results really. But some
You
sort
mean in
of-
terms of how?
something measurable.
I mean, measurable? Not every story is going to have all of these. But yeah, I would go with that in terms of
Relevance.
the results. Relevance? Say a bit more. What do you mean by that?
To the person that's receiving the information, it's got to relate to them. It's got to be something that's in their world that all they can see that they can benefit from. Otherwise, you're just
Yeah, it's got to be
telling an
the right
abstract
audience, isn't
story.
it?
I'll go with that. I think there's something. Maybe I'm going to say a bit more about that. But maybe that's covered by something
You
else.
can add to it. It's all right.
What did we do to?
Yeah, what you actually did. Yeah, potentially. There's a key bit missing. Key couple of things that we're missing here.
The person.
Aha! I was going to say. Let me just quickly do this little demonstration. Think of the last film you saw. Can you picture the last film you saw?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it was, could be a classic, could be something absolutely rubbish, or like me, it's probably something for the kids, because that's all I ever do is see kids films these days. You know. Whatever happened, how did it go? Did everything start and everything was very happy?
No.
And it went along like this, and everything was very happy, and it went along like this, and everything was very happy, and then it finished. Is that how it went?
No, you need a cliffhanger.
According to that
Yes,
gentleman,
it didn't happen. It started off maybe very happy, but then the world exploded or whatever happened, the disaster, and then there's the fight back, and there's the struggle, and the fight back and struggle until hopefully it finishes off as a happy ending. Now, it doesn't always have to have a happy ending. I'll put that one down. It might not have a happy ending. It might be a sad ending. It might be a poignant ending, but it has an ending. What else comes out of that? Someone else said the other key thing. I think.
Cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger, maybe. Appreciate not every story will have all of these, of course, but yeah, it could do.
Light and shade.
Light and shade, yeah. Ups and downs, however we describe it. Someone said another thing that's really important.
Jeopardy is the
You
word.
said somebody
Jeopardy,
said
maybe?
person.
Characters.
Somebody said
Aha, characters. What characters do we need?
hero.
We need a hero. Who's the hero?
Us,
Yeah.
as the business person.
You're the one who swoops in and saves the day, absolutely. What other characters do we have?
Victim,
The victim. Who's the victim?
our client.
The client. Absolutely. Anything else? Anyone else?
Villain.
The villain, yeah. Well, I wonder if sometimes the villain is the problem.
Yeah.
That could be that. It's a metaphorical villain. We're not talking some James Bond baddie about to plot to blow up the
It
world.
could be someone that you've bought from that was no good.
Yeah,
It could
Jackie-
be-
Jackie's client
They've
wears
wasted
on
money
it,
and they're not
so-
prepared
Yeah.
to spend
Absolutely.
more money because they've tried it with something that
Absolutely.
couldn't help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's common.
So if you look at all those things, and I appreciate there might be more to that list, there might, you know, as I say, all of them won't go into every story, of course. What's the most important? If you're going to have one bit in the story, what would it be? The hero.
Hero.
The hero?
Emotions.
Oh, the hero, another thing.
Results.
I'm hearing lots of different words here. Hero, emotions, results. You know where I put it?
Problem.
For me, it's up here all the time. Because that's the bit that buys us in to want to listen. It's the bit that gets us to want to listen. Yeah, go on.
I was privileged to hear Ryan Avery speak recently.
Yeah.
He won the Toastmasters Speaker of the Year competition a
Right.
few years ago. Having never spoken at all in 5 months, he set himself a target and he now goes around the world teaching people to speak. And on emotion, he said that every story needs to have 6 emotions, and I'm going to forget them all. But it was included happy, sad, disgust,
Right.
despair, and a couple of others.
There are only 5 in that thingy.
Sorry?
There are 5. You're talking about the base emotions?
He listed them and I've written them down, and if I ever need them I will find them,
You'll
but I
find
can't remember them here all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, he said every story needs to cover all those 5 because it gives you that.
Absolutely,
Exactly what you're saying.
absolutely. I think, look, as I said, I'm not coming from this from a storytelling point of view. I'm coming at this from a networking point of view. I just want you to have better conversations when it comes to networking. So I appreciate there's going to be more to this than that, and I'll certainly take that. But the key thing is we must have emotions in there. It's the emotions that gets us to buy in.
It's not just be picky.
Yeah.
Emotion isn't an element. Emotion is the style in which all of those things are delivered.
But if there isn't emotion in there,
No, but I'm saying that is what I'm saying. Jackie knows what to say. You know, it's an emotion that is encapsulated in the story at the points where it needs to be there.
the challenge is there's often not all of the emotion there.
Oh, sure. I know.
Let me see if I can illustrate
I
this.
agree.
There are 3 parts, I think, to a story that need to be included. Okay? You've got the setup. Okay? This is in terms of what we're talking about here, a client story where you've helped a client. You've got the setup where you outline the problem, what happened, what was the situation. You've got what you did, you know, how did you solve the problem, whatever the problem was. The challenge with someone not making enough business from their website, be it someone who's got some mental health challenge, whatever it may be. And then you've got what happened afterwards. I call that the afters. What happened after? Now, whatever story you're telling, now it might be in a brief networking conversation where you've got a minute to do this. It might be sat down over a cup of coffee and you've got 20 minutes to sell it. Whatever happens, you've got a bunch of time to tell that story. So out of 0 to 100, you've got 3 sections. Do this individually for a sec. Write down 3 percentages. What section of the story, as I say, it could be a different amount of time, whether it's a minute or 20 minutes. What percentage are you going to give to the setup? What percentage are you going to give to the what you did? And what percentage are you going to give to the afters? Everyone do that individually, just for a second. Write down 3 percentages. Got 3 written down?
They don't like that.
You do have to add up to 100. That's the way percentages work.
Luckily,
Do what? Compare with your next door neighbour who you've just been sharing the story with. Do you agree? Have you got the same percentages? Here's the question, do you agree?
I doubt it.
Who wants to share their set of percentages? Go on.
15% for setup.
15% setup,
20% for what I do.
20% what you did,
And 65.
that'd be 65 for you. So a lot of waiting on the afters. Anyone think totally different to that? Go on, yeah, what did you think?
40, 20, 40.
40, 20, 40.
I
Okay.
went 20, 20, 40.
20, 20, 40.
I went
Okay.
50. I went 50% for setup.
50.
You think 50% set up and then
30-20.
50, 30, 20. So we've got a complete range.
We have.
This is my opinion.
Wrong.
I've got the flip chart.
You got the green pen.
And I'm going to do this in a different order and it will make a point hopefully. Yes, maths fans, I'm only giving 10% for what you did. And this is the challenge. This is what you often see in a networking conversation. All of the story, maybe 90% of it is in here.
Feature.
And I'm going to say something controversial. Are you ready for something controversial?
Might not be.
I'm telling you.
Actually, yes.
What you actually do is a bit boring. I'm not saying what you do is not relevant. I'm not saying what you do isn't important. Of course it is. It's your business. It's what you do. Fantastic. But from a storytelling point of view, we don't care. From a storytelling point of view, we don't care. What we want to know is it from the client's perspective. How are they feeling? What was the problem? What was the issue? Buy us in. That's the emotional part that really gets us going. You're the superhero. You swoop in and save the day. Easy. And then how do they feel afterwards? What was the different answer? Did they go and refer you afterwards? Did you go and make a big difference? Did they go and give you more business? Whatever it may be. I'll finish this section this is really coming back to that point about emotion. I think emotions just need to be in the story. I was doing this session once, and there was a lady at the front. She'd be in your position in the room, if you like. And I could see her looking worried as I was talking about this. And she goes, I run a payroll company. What's emotional about payroll? I was like, okay. Tell us about a recent bit of business you've done. Turned out this was in January time. And she told us about a client who she ran the payroll for them. And in the December payroll, i.e. run just before Christmas, there was an issue with the payroll, such that it wasn't the company's fault, it wasn't the payroll company's fault, it was the bank's fault. There was just an administrative error, which meant payroll didn't go through just before Christmas. How does that feel? And suddenly we got our emotion. What she actually went and did was draw money out of her own funds, take it round, basically put it in a brown envelope, take it to the employees of this small business, and say, have money for Christmas. And they reclaimed it and sorted it out in the new year. It's just about finding that angle. It's about finding the emotion that makes a difference and gets people wanting to refer you. How are we feeling about this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Emotional.
Okay, we're now just going to move on to another part. Because what I said was at the start, and it was in the intro, it said that this is about having good networking conversations. Hopefully with these stories, you'll have better networking conversations. You'll get people more engaged in what you're saying. You'll get people, hopefully, sharing their stories with you, which will be more interesting for you when you're in a networking conversation. What we're going to do is get some results. What is going to drive those results? And this is something, I'm going to be honest, it's counterintuitive. We often say, right, I want to get the whole lot of the market, so I'm just going to, anyone in that sector would be fantastic for me. But actually being specific to the sector that you want, or indeed, in fact, the individual person you want to speak to, will lead to more results. Okay? I haven't got time to share the whole of the mechanics around that, but let me just share one quick story about how that works. I was doing a session where it wasn't focused on all of this, it was just focused on specific referral requests. And I was going around the room, and we were doing a business generation exercise, if you like, where we asked people just to share, a room of 40 people or something like that. And we just said, look, tell us who you'd like to speak to in business. And you know what? Someone in the room might be able to help. But it won't happen if you're not specific. You've got to actually name a person. Name a person within the company and see what happens. A number of people went, and there were a good amount of opportunities were shared. But there was this guy at the back of the room. I'm going to say it was the guy in your position. And demonstrate some bad listening body language for me, please. He was a bit like this. He wasn't really paying attention. He wasn't really involved in this. He basically didn't buy into what we were talking about. And I thought, come on, this is going to be a challenge, but let's have a go with it. And I was chatting to him in conversation in the session. And I said, look, just give it a go, try. And he said, no, it's not going to work. Go on, just try. And he said, look, if you're going to try and tell me as an events company that this room of people, full of small business owners, honestly, if this room of people is going to be able to get me an introduction to the marketing manager of the Hilton Hotel Group, then I just don't believe it. I didn't say anything. 2 seats along from him, this guy piped up, I live next door to the chairman of the Hilton Hotel Group. Would that be any good for you? The point is, you just never know. It's the random effect of network. It's not about who's there in the room, it's who do they know, who's in their contacts. We all know lots of people, we just don't know. And when it comes to getting more business from networking, if we're not specific and targeted in who we're after, we're not going to get as much business. We're not going to get as many referrals. And I'd like to help, maybe one or two of you, we'll see how we do for time, we've got a few minutes left, help you be specific in who you're after, okay? I'm going to ask for a volunteer in a second. What I'm going to do, all you need to be specific is a funnel. It goes like that, and hopefully at the bottom, money comes out. Hopefully. Would anyone like help being specific? Does anyone like to share? You never know. Someone in this room might know the person you want to speak to in business. I will pick on someone if someone doesn't put it in for me. Cool, fantastic, thank you. Do you want to just stand so we can
Sure.
What's your name?
Amanda.
Amanda, just very quickly tell us what you do. So put it in a bit of context.
I help companies, I help take the fear out of companies implementing software.
Fear out of companies implementing software.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, nice one. So here's a question for you. And if you give me an answer that includes the word anyone, everyone, somebody, anything like that, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
Can we have that agreement?
Yeah,
Cool,
I'll try
fantastic.
very hard.
Who's a good referral for you?
Accountants.
Which one?
Accountants supporting companies with 25 employees or more, so kind of Menzies, that kind of mid-tier level accountancy.
Okay. Are we talking, forgive me for my lack of knowledge here, Menzies of the accountant or the company they support?
Menzies is a firm of accountants.
Okay, so would you like to speak to Menzies?
I know people at Menzies, so
Would that be good?
I could.
You don't seem very sure about this, so we can work
Okay,
this.
so I've misunderstood your question. No, I've misunderstood your question.
I'm asking you, who's a
Who would
good
be a good
referral for you?
referral?
Who would you like, you know, if you never know, someone in this room might be able to get you an introduction to a potential dream client.
Okay, so I can't give you the name of a company because I don't know the companies that are about to implement software. But I can give you a profile of those companies.
Okay, so give us that profile.
Okay, so they've got more than 25 employees.
Okay.
They've diversified
Yeah.
massively. They've probably been trading for at least 5 years.
Okay.
They are in London or Kent.
Okay.
Um,
I'll stop you there. You're helping us.
I know I'm not doing what
But
you
you're
want
not
me to
getting-
do, but I don't know the answer to. I don't know.
Here's the challenge for us all. What we want to do, I want to help you get some business. People, you know, we assume we're in a networking conversation, someone's got a good relationship with you, they want to help. How do they know a firm of 25, an accounting?
So.
Exactly. So that means you're going to be stuck
Dundee
potentially. Go on.
Neville. There you go.
Sorry.
Dundee Neville.
Well, sometimes that can help. Let me just go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I just an answer to that challenge? Are you in the IOD?
Not yet. No.
Join IOD 99 because you can probably for 99 quid. If you put all that criteria to their research department, that's just one of your inquiries per year. You can do 25 of those inquiries per year. They will give you a spreadsheet with all that information within 2 days.
I'll refer it to the ID. Yes.
I know someone has some spare inquiries and will do it for you for nothing.
Oh.
There you go. You never know what's going to come out when you start something this out. Let's take a moment. Let's see if we can help a couple other people. Appreciate you doing this. I want to give an example. Go on. Yes. Who's a good referral for you?
Right, CEO, COO, CNEO, of Starling Bank,
Starling Bank. Yeah.
Nutmeg, Hootsuite, Google.
Which one?
Hootsuite.
So,
We're in Canada.
which one do you want to? Which one's a good referral for you?
Well, give me the CEO of Starling Bank.
Of Starling Bank. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Give us a name. Why is the name important?
I can see her face.
Yeah. Often we think it's a business-related thing, but actually it might be our next-door neighbour or someone who goes.
Like Ryan
kids.
Holmes.
Ryan Holmes.
He's Hootsuite. He's the founder of Hootsuite.
Founder of Hootsuite?
Yeah.
Okay, so not Starling Bank.
I don't mind, you asked for a name, I didn't give you the first name, so that's the only name I've got.
Okay,
So how, you're saying the name is
I'm saying the name's
more
really
important.
important.
I'm
I'm
going to talk these people on
what
Twitter
you
anyway.
really want is the name, the company.
The CEO is Anne Bowden.
And Bowden, that's
There
it,
you go.
thank you.
That's what you always want.
Yes.
Because you've got someone in the room who's got LinkedIn or Google. This is the thing, it's the tools are right there.
Yeah.
LinkedIn and Google's right there. So whenever you get stuck with this, just Google it. Let's have one more. Who else wants to find out their specific? I want to show you how the funnel works. Anyone want to work out, you never know, someone in this room might be able to help, a specific referral request that might help them get business. And we're going to pick on someone if you don't. I picked on you. What's your name?
I'm Jez.
Jez.
Yes.
Who's a good referral for you?
C-suite of a financial service institution.
Financial service institution, right?
Probably perhaps not so much the high street banks because they're located for a smaller bank.
Smaller bank, which one?
Like one I'm already talking to, like Handelsbanken and that sort of.
I'm really glad we came to you because I think we've got we've hit upon how it works. Sometimes when we're just thinking, who do we? It's hard to actually break it down and work out how it works. Can I just see? You were saying a bit like someone you're already working with.
Yes. So like
That's the
that
key.
Yeah.
If you're ever stuck with this, think who's a good current client. Good current client. Would someone else a bit like them be good for you? That's often a good starting point in this. Now, I appreciate sometimes you may have client issues and you can't work for a competitor. I get that will sometimes happen. But in most cases, not too much of an issue. If you're a good current client, so who's your current client? It's a small bank?
Yes, Handelsbanken.
Handelsbanken.
Handelsbanken is a niche bank in the UK, taking the high net worth clients. They're actually a Swedish bank, but they fit into that bracket of private banks, not exclusive, really exclusive stuff, but private banks, that type of area, area.
Okay, so we start off with an existing client. You've given us that. We want a private bank.
Yes.
Could you name one? Could you know who?
Oh, now
Put
you
you on the
got
spot.
me.
Cater Allen?
Sorry?
Cater Allen?
Cater Allen, yeah.
Cater Allen.
Yeah.
Am I spelling that? C-A-T?
C-A-T-E-R.
Allen. E-L-L.
Allen with an E.
E-N. Cater Allen.
Drummonds.
Smith and Williamson.
Okay.
Smith and Williamson.
Go with one for a second, because
Only one.
here's the thing, if you don't know, if you name one,
Yeah.
and you really focus on, I really need to speak to someone in that bank, if someone's got to contact another bank, they're not going to shut up and say, no, I'm not going to give that to you. They'll say, look, I don't know that one, but would this one be any good? So it doesn't really matter, just pick one. Who do you need to speak to at Cater Allen?
In terms of the
Job
person-
title.
Job title, it needs to be C-suite, someone who will instruct the HR manager and the learning development manager to use Jez.
Who's that likely to be then?
It's going to be perhaps the CEO
CEO, okay.
or people director.
Or people, stick with CEO for a second, it doesn't really matter when you've got, this is just showing the principle.
Yeah.
Do you know who the CEO is?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, at that point, what do you have to do?
Google it.
Some research. Google, LinkedIn, you'll find it pretty much every time. That's all you got to do. And at some point during this list, you will get stuck potentially, unless you know exactly who you want to speak to. But always start there. Pick an existing client. If you can't think of anyone else, pick an existing client. Obviously, make sure that it would be appropriate for you to work with a competitor of theirs. And then just work through. What industry is it? What company is it? Maybe a location might come in at this point. Appreciate if they've got different branches or a head office or whatever. Give us the job title, find out their name. And then when you're networking, that's what we've got to talk about. The crucial thing is though, how does this link with what we were talking about before? I want to finish on this point.
Because you're going to choose a story that aligns with them.
Aha!
In the same industry, just
Exactly.
some way that the person you're talking to can relate to it.
Exactly. I've done this session a number of times, and sometimes it takes about 5 minutes for this to come out. All it is you're going to link the story that you tell, how you helped a particular client, as we discussed before, link it to your specific request.
The reason I choose that is I'm an ex-bank manager. In the 1990s, I was looking after high net worth.
But more crucially,
yeah,
what have you done for Handelsbank?
I've taken some of their teams from being absolutely crap at talking to anybody to actually standing on their feet at networking and delivering pitches, delivering stories.
Wonderful. There's more to that story, of course.
Yeah.
But share that story and list off who you want to speak to. That's how this works. Have more interesting networking conversations and make them be more relevant to you.
Wow. That doesn't happen every time.
You read it. Of course it happens every time. One last
Hey,
thing.
time's up, you can't plug that.
I said I'd give this to the best story. I think that if there were votes, are we going over here to